So here we have again another question. So, according to the Catholic Church, what role should be following play in a good moral decision making? Magisterium, the Ten Commandments, and consequences praise. So, how do all these things help us make a good decision according to the Church? So, all these verses can help us form our conscience. Through the Magisterium, we can understand the official teaching authority of the Church. The Ten Commandments are there to safeguard the good person, the image of God, in order to make a good decision. Consequences help us understand the results and the audience our decisions can affect, and thus make far more rational decisions the next time. Prayer does nothing but solidify our decision making process through the grace of God. So just know that all these things help us kind of form our conscience and, as a result, make better decisions for the world. Um, why do Christians view freedom as a gift from God? Also, I may need some help from you guys on this question, but I think from the previous quizzes and what I was able to get, it's because it gives us the opportunity to be freer, and it is a gift from God because it imitates His likeness. So anything given by God, and freedom is a gift given from God. It's imitating how you know His own likeness. Um, Definitely studied this question. I'm not sure if it's going to be on the exam, but I mean it's there for a reason. So explain how external limits and internal limits impede our freedom. Give two examples of each kind. So they can prevent us from being free in the way God calls us to be. They can blind us or prevent us from being free. I repeated myself twice, and this is a little bit vague, but what it's saying, I mean, these are kind of the things that from outside, external means from things from outside of our world, and internal things from inside our world that kind of prevents us from being free. So internal, it could be like a fear, addiction to something that one make us think rationally and make good decisions or be free. External means kind of like a tyrannical, like government, like or the law, like some kind of fascist or whatever is it that it's preventing us from the outside. Like I said, the external, the outside world, it's preventing us from doing that, having this freedom. Define license, ignorance, and rest. So license is unbridled, undisciplined, and freedom that abuses true liberty. Ignorance is not taught or unknown truth. So ignorance can be intentional, or unintentional. Dress is kind of when someone tries to force us to do something. Know all these three. If you have a better license definition, please go ahead and leave it down below. I would appreciate it. God, so many oh God. Anyway, how is license a distortion of the true meaning of freedom? So, because this is a distortion because we are saying the license is unbridled, undisciplined freedom that abuses true liberty, which is not the true meaning of freedom. Not at all. So explain the relationship between freedom and responsibility. Explain how responsibility makes it possible to learn from mistakes and receive forgiveness and grow in holiness. So to be responsible means to every degree that our choices are voluntary. We are responsible for our actions, and responsibility kind of implies that, responsibility implies the possession of intelligence and freedom. So we're able to make our own, we're able to be free without any kind of, without having to rely on other things. Freedom can be defined as the power rooted in the reason will, which we are able to form with responsibility. So there is a connection. Now, just knowing this kind of helps us as we continue to make mistakes. This is how we learn again. So this is one way that responsibility makes it possible to perfect the freedom. We're able to receive forgiveness and grow with God because we're acknowledging these different mistakes that we're making. What does it mean to call an action imputable? So imputable means accountable or responsible for whatever that action is. Just remember, imputable means accountable or responsible. What does it take for a law to be reasonable? So what makes a law good? So it takes a criterion of 4 components for a law to be good. In order for a law to be reasonable, it must be realistic and capable of being carried by anyone, not too extreme or beyond one's grasp or knowledge. So the 4 components that you should definitely, without a doubt, know is the law must be reasonable. Laws for the common good, competent authority makes this law, and the law must be promulgated. So again, law must be reasonable. People can do it without having any trouble. The law is for the common good. The law benefits everybody in the world. Well, not probably not in the world, but in that specific scenario. It's a competent authority makes this law. So someone who has the authority, someone who's knowledgeable enough makes this law, not just like any dumb person in the world, or anybody just says that we cannot ever eat again. I mean, that's dumb, we'll die, but, And law must be promulgated. So promulgated again means that it must be announced. It must be kind of told to the people. It must be that, I mean, I don't think there's a better word to say. It just must be announced to people so they know about it. Otherwise, I mean, if how do they know they're doing it wrong or breaking the law constantly? What is natural law? So natural law is how we participate for our nature in the divine law. Natural law is the idea of preserving life, developing as individuals, etc. So a natural law corresponds to divine law. To whom does it apply? This law applies to everyone. It is universal. And does it change? So it's permanent and it's unchanging throughout history. Natural law does not change. Define civil law. How is it related to natural law? So civil laws are the laws established by a country, government, or area. Laws of a school, for example, laws of the U.S., laws of a state, laws of a county. These are the laws that govern our society. We do not always have to obey them. They come from natural law, and now we get into the canon law. Canon law means kind of the rules that guide the church in the community. So what laws keep the church unified, working toward bringing the kingdom of God to fruition? And the full body of officially established rules governing the Catholic Church. So, canon law is kind of the church laws, but don't say church laws because that'll be wrong. Just explain freedom of excellence and freedom of indifference. So, what characterizes each way of thinking and what consequences come from each? So freedom of excellence is the power to act freely with excellence and perfection, whereas freedom of indifference is the power to choose between contraries, usually between good and evil, without obligation to follow these rules. For freedom of indifference, it doesn't recognize inclination towards good, whereas freedom of excellence does. It resides in the will, whereas freedom of indifference does not. It is entire from the first moment, whereas freedom of indifference develops through education and discipline. So I would have made a chart if I had more time, but sadly I didn't. So freedom of excellence, as its name says, is doing the good thing without just knowing using excellence and perfection to get there. Freedom of indifference is a flawed that as its name says, it doesn't recognize inclination towards good. It thinks that that's the only sole way to get to that.